Hi everyone, this is Anita Berry with Johnston and Stewart. Just wanted to bring y'all a brief update on the special session on property insurance that the legislature just had last week. As we all know, the governor called the legislature into special session specifically to address the property insurance crisis. We've had several insurers pull out of the market recently, several more likely to happen, and a growing number of policyholders and citizens that have caused a lot of concern for what the market's going to look like, what the rates are going to look like for all of us. And this is something that impacts homeowners, business owners, even renters, because it's driving rents up in our state. So two comprehensive bills that were filed by leadership in both chambers that were considered. They very quickly moved through the process, each receiving one committee hearing and then moving to the floor. They did end up partway through the special session amending the call to also include issues relating to condos. This is specifically to address the Surfside tragedy and some legislative items around that. That was another piece of legislation that did not pass during regular session, but they were able to come to an agreement and add that issue into the special session. So just a brief rundown of what was accomplished during that short week-long special session. That legislation that I mentioned that was filed was really put forward to try to balance the interests of all stakeholders while also trying to keep consumers first. So the legislation really focuses around increasing consumer choice, looking at affordability, addressing fraud and costly litigation, and also trying to hold insurers accountable. So first, the legislation provides homeowners with the option for a roof deductible policy, and it also clarifies options for roof repair and replacement. I think we've all heard a lot of things about what roofing is causing when it comes to our insurance rate. So the legislation allows property insurers to offer homeowners a policy that includes a roof deductible, while also offering them an actuarially sound premium or credit. So you're going to see reduced premiums or credits if you do take that policy with a roof deductible. In addition, it also includes specific consumer protections that prohibit insurers from refusing to write policies on homes with roofs that are less than 15 years old. This is a trend that we have been seeing in a marketplace, and certainly something of concern in communities with older homes, a lot of which we have here in Pinellas County. Along the lines of roofing repairs, the legislation also creates a statutory exception to the Florida Building Code. So roofs that are more than 25% damaged, but that also comply with 2007 Florida Building Code may be repaired instead of being required to be replaced. This has been a problem driving up costs where roofs have been required to be replaced when they could just be repaired. Obviously, replacing a whole roof is much more costly than repairing a roof. So this is going to close that loophole there and hopefully address some of those concerns. Related to home hardening, obviously home hardening is something that can keep all of our homes safe when a storm comes. The legislation does expand the My Safe Florida Home program to include hurricane mitigation inspections and matching grants for retrofitting homesteaded single-family homes with a value of $500,000 or less. This is being done with the goal of making these upgrades financially attainable for more homeowners. The grants are going to be awarded on a matching basis, with the program providing $2 in grant funds for every $1 provided by the homeowner. Applicants can receive up to $10,000 in program funds. Obviously, we need to try to stabilize the marketplace. The legislation does enhance insurer access to reinsurance while passing on those savings to consumers. So the bill authorizes $2 billion for a new reinsurance to assist policyholders program for insurers. This new program is going to allow insurers to obtain reimbursement for hurricane losses below the insurer's Florida Hurricane Catastrophe Fund retention. Those insurers that participate in this new program must reduce their policyholders' rates in a rate filing to reflect this savings that they're receiving from the program. This legislation also looks to increase insured transparency. So things like requiring insurance to notify policyholders that they can request a copy of any detailed estimate of the amount of loss determined by the adjuster, receiving detailed estimates within 7 days, but also requiring reasonable explanation in writing on the basis for the payment, denial, or partial denial of a claim, so that policyholders can be more informed and better understand the decisions that the insurers are making. When it comes to the Office of Insurance Regulation, again, along the lines of trying to increase transparency, they will be required to make this data publicly available when it comes to the number of policies, amount of premiums, number of cancellations, and other data for each property insurer. And it specifies that this information will not be a trade secret so that it can be shared publicly. I mentioned at the beginning that the legislation looks at trying to hold insurers accountable. So they are going to require an analysis of why an insurer failed within 4 months, sent to the Department of Financial Services. Again, we mentioned that several of the insurers have been pulling out of the marketplace recently. So this is to address why that is happening. It's also going to strengthen the Office of Insurance Regulations regulatory oversight by creating a new property insurer investigations unit to increase regulatory oversight and provide enhanced monitoring whenever the office identifies significant concerns about an insurer's solvency, rates, proposed contracts, underwriting rules, market practices, claims handling, consumer complaints, litigation practices, really all of the above, anything that might be causing a concern, both for our regulatory oversight, but also for consumers. Finally, along the lines of property insurance, the legislation does try to reduce the frivolous litigation that is increasing all of our insurance rates. So the bill does codify attorney fee multipliers that can only be awarded in rare and exceptional circumstances. It clarifies when a bad faith suit may arise and prohibits the ability to transfer the right to receive attorney fees in property insurance litigation. It also prohibits written contractor solicitation that encourages consumers to make a property insurance claim for roof damage unless the solicitation provides certain notices. So this is an issue that was actually addressed in legislation passed two legislative sessions ago, but that was struck down by a court. So they did try to go back in and clarify that. Really trying to make it clear that there's no such thing as a free roof. You cannot be solicited by a roofer saying that your insurance will cover a free roof. This is just driving up rates for all of us. So again, this legislation tries to go in and clarify that protection. Finally, as I mentioned, they did end up expanding the special session to improve condo safety requirements. So they did amend SB 4D requiring condominium and cooperative association buildings that are 3 or more stories high to have a structural integrity inspection by an architect or an engineer when the building reaches a certain age, and setting a requirement for ages thereafter. The inspection report results must be provided to local building officials, associations, and unit owners. There's a lot of other protections in there. Again, this is really trying to protect our condo owners and those living in condos, particularly after the tragedy in Surfside. So that's a really quick rundown of everything that happened during special session. Obviously, it's a very dense piece of legislation. The governor did quickly sign that legislation by the end of last week after the legislature passed it. A lot more, I think, to come when it comes to property insurance. The legislature did not address citizens, so that is something still to be debated and that I think we'll see in the coming legislative sessions. If y'all have any questions when it comes to property insurance or anything related to the state of Florida and the legislature, please always feel free to reach out to questions. We are absolutely honored to represent Amplify Clearwater, and thank you so much for your time.